Mel, everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here, I'm back. My voice is back anyway. Let's do a quick video on Bitcoin. Here, I got the weekly chart pulled up. The Bollinger Band is expanding. Whenever you have the upper Bollinger Band and lower Bollinger Band expanding away from one another, that means that a very, very impulsive bull trend or bear trend, depending on whether or not it's riding up along the upper Bollinger Band or riding along with the lower Bollinger Band. Here in this particular case, it's riding up the upper Bollinger Band and is expanding to the upside and downside. 20-week moving average is curling up. This is a very, very impulsive bull trend. It looks like something great is in the process of happening, and I cannot be too bearish here. Now, instead of looking at Bollinger Band, you can also look at the Ichimoku cloud. I mentioned about 4 weeks ago where I thought that the week after that you're going to have an increase in Tenkan because this candle over here is not going to be counted for the blue line calculation here, and because of that I thought that price for the blue line is going to end up shooting up, and certainly it ended up doing that. And as soon as you have a support level that goes up, usually these things end up pushing the price up higher as pretty decent support. And it continues to serve as pretty decent support as you see this week so far. This week candle here is not close yet, but right now you have a very much of an upsloping Tenkan blue line up here, and serving as really, really good support right here in terms of where you're seeing. Now, I'm going to change a little bit here to the daily chart here. You can see on the daily, and again, chart here I've been following for a very, very, very long time. Really since December 2024, whenever it pushed through the arc here, I thought it was probably like stuck here for a while. Ended up being a little bit more brutal than I thought, all the way down to the 7500s down here. But it's been following market symmetry extremely well from arc to arc, basically bounced between these two arcs over here. Broke down underneath the 45-degree angle, it back tested the arc up here, pushed through, and was kind of testing 45-degree angle over here, pushed through, back test the angle, broke down, back test the horizontal line over here twice. And right now, guess what? We are reclaiming the 45-degree angle almost perfectly right here yesterday. This is a broke down and a breakout and a back test. These things are looking pretty extremely bullish. I can't believe this square is still not over yet. I can still use it, which is absolutely crazy. But this is my Gann square for the daily, and it's certainly still looking pretty decent. Now, instead of looking at the Gann square here on the daily, I can also look at the Bollinger Band. You can also see the Bollinger Band is also extremely bullish here. Did we have a problem here so far? Yeah, we do have a problem. The price is currently way outside the daily upper Bollinger Band. Generally, price doesn't like to do that, and that might end up having price kind of stall here a little bit because of that, but that's okay. Overall, this still looks like a pretty healthy, pretty impulsive bull trend that is really building up right here. If you are looking at the monthly chart, you can see a couple things. One is, if you look at the Ichimoku, I was mentioning, I don't think the cycle is over because whenever price keeps riding the blue line on the monthly on the way up, this is a bull market until proven otherwise. Here, you have a breakdown of the blue line, and you really had a hard time really truly breaking back above and back tested it. Broke down twice, bear market comes, right? Push, big through, touch back test here perfectly, right? Ongoing, back tested perfectly again. This kind of stepwise approach, these are very healthy bull trend here, very, very different from 2021. A lot of people try to make comparisons between what's happening over here and what happened in 2021. There's actually absolutely no correlate here at all whatsoever if you just look at like from the technical standpoint. If you do technical analysis, not by just looking at, oh, is this slight higher high, is exhausted? No, like that's not how you do it. Anyway, on the monthly Bollinger Band, one very important thing is happening is, well, the upper Bollinger Band still continue to expand to the upside here. There's still more room for price to go up here over time. The thing about it is the lower Bollinger Band still hasn't really expanded. If anything, it's kind of contracting here a little bit. During each of the bull trend or bull cycle for Bitcoin, usually the upper Bollinger Band expansion and the lower Bollinger Band expansion. This happened last cycle. That happened the cycle before that. And whenever you have a lower Bollinger Band expansion, that's really when the very, very impulsive bull market is really happening. We haven't had that yet. If anything, we had a little bit of Bollinger Band squeeze here. So that tells me that I think maybe we still haven't really hit the parabolic bull trend of Bitcoin. If you're also looking at market symmetry here, I got the Gann square here on the monthly, and you can see how it's been following the monthly Gann here. Very, very well market symmetry here from arc to arc. When you get rejected, push through, back test, goes to the next arc, right? Got rejected here, back test this arc up here, push through, get to the next arc, right? Anyway, back test over here, guess where we're going to go? We're probably going to go to the next level, which is the horizontal gain level right here around 200,000. And if it pushes through, there's another level up here. Depends on where it hits up here on the arc. It can be anywhere from 500 to like, 700, 800,000. Depends on where it really hits this area, right? Nobody really knows when the cycle is going to be over. A lot of people still think this is going to be a 4-year cycle. I just don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. I think this whole bull cycle over here has just been taking a lot longer for liquidity to really break through. And I think that there's going to be more room to go up. IWM still hasn't really made all-time highs. Market sentiment still hasn't really been that hot. And the Tenkan is still rising, as I was showing you earlier on the monthly. And the market symmetry is telling us that there's going to be more room to go up. Now, can it hit 200,000 and end up getting stalled here, and then people think it's going to be a prolonged bear market, but actually just end up stalling and then push through and go higher? I think it's entirely possible this cycle. A lot of people are probably going to end up getting thrown off sides here based on the fact that they're following some rigid metrics rather than looking at market symmetry. But that's kind of what I'm seeing here on the monthly. Now, going back to the weekly chart here, do we have a problem? We do have a little bit of a problem. What is the problem? The problem is we are at the weekly can resistance horizontal line over here, which is going to be around 117,000 to 118,000. I was mentioning this being the next level if we end up back testing this area, and we're going to end up going up. Where's the next resistance level going to be at? This horizontal gain level over here, around 117 to 118K. That's exactly where we're getting stalled right here. How good is this market symmetry here for this Gannon square? Look at this arc here, beautifully rejected, push through, beautifully rejected, push through, beautifully rejected, push through, beautifully rejected, push through, back test, horizontal Gannon line right there. This market symmetry has been remarkable. Actually, it shocked me in terms of how this Gannon square has been working. I've been following this really since like back in December 2020. No, actually around September 2024, I started following this pretty remarkable market symmetry here. So guess what? We're at rejection zone over here. We might have a hard time pushing through. Maybe we end up spending a few weeks forming a little bit of an ascending triangle over here between the angle and horizontal line before pushing up to the next level, which is going to be around 155, 150, 165,000, somewhere up there. That's probably going to be the next natural level for it to go to. But we are at resistance, so it might need some time to kind of push through. That is what I think about Bitcoin. Now, I do think that this is going to be a little bit of a change of character compared to previous, because I am looking at a couple things. First of all, I'm looking at the Bitcoin dominance chart. And if you look at the regular here instead of the log, you can see how it really got close to a very, very important retracement level here, 0.786. Generally, if it's not able to push to 0.786, that's it for a cycle, right? And Bitcoin dominance, which basically tells you the percentage of the entire cryptocurrency market cap that is Bitcoin, is at around 64, 65%, somewhere around there. It's been going up steadily over the last 2 years. It hadn't really cooled down here much at all. Initially, it looks like it was going to get a little bit rejected, or 0.618 just decided to push through. Guess what we're having so far? We still got a lot of bullish momentum here. Still, right? It's still forming higher highs and higher lows, which is just absolutely ridiculous. But with that said, there are a couple of things that are against the Bitcoin dominance from going up higher. First of all, it keeps on going up higher, but RSI kept going down. You have bearish divergence here that needs to work out. Second of all, you're at the 0.786 fit level over here, which is a strong resistance. We end up pushing another green up. That's going to be a pretty strong resistance level here. Third of all, there's actually a lot of life when it comes to Ethereum. And I've been following the Ethereum chart for a very long time. Looking at a 2-week chart over here and not doing linear to log, because this is a logarithmically growing asset. Each cycle has been growing longer and longer. You can see the cycle is quite short, broke down underneath the line over here, pushed through, back test. Initially, it was a little bit of a bearish back test here. It was able to push through. That's when the bull market began. Here, same thing. Bounce, broke down here during COVID. Immediately after a couple of weeks, just pushed up and began the bull market here, right? But this bear market over here was a little bit longer than this consolidation zone over here. Here, this is the longest cycle that I think Ethereum has early experienced. Broke down underneath, back tested once, now back tested it twice. I think we probably have enough energy to push through here, but we're still at resistance. So it's probably going to need a little bit more time to break through. But I think that Ethereum is showing a little bit of change of characteristics here to turn into a little bit more bullish. That by itself could basically help shift the sentiment from being a little bit more euphoric. If Ethereum does well, then overall market is going to do very well. But again, it's still at resistance, so we can still get a little bit angrier here. With that said, I think Ethereum is probably going to do just fine. If you look at Ethereum dominance instead of looking at Bitcoin dominance, especially if you look at a 3-day chart here, you see the Bollinger Band has been squeezing because the 3-day Ethereum dominance has been going sideways over here for more than 20 candles. And finally, this consolidation look is over. You have the expansion of the Bollinger Band here. It looks like the expansion is going to be onto the upside. So I think Ethereum might end up continue to take more and more of the cryptocurrency market share. And we'll see how it happens. But so far, it looks like we are probably going to having a breakout soon. And the Ethereum dominance is favored to go to the upside based on the fact that it's above the basis line over here on the Bollinger Band. A lot of things are pointing towards goodness here. If you look at others chart here, which is the cryptocurrency market cap, excluding the top 10 coins, and if you are looking at more from a weekly standpoint here, you can see how it's really just been falling at the fib level over here. Got rejected 0.5 fib channel line over here twice, right? Come all the way back down here. It's just been holding a 0.136 over here. And right now we're still at the lower part of the range, right? Imagine if it goes up to the upper part of the range. The pure currency market cap, excluding top 10 coins, can potentially 10x if it goes back up to the previous one level, or even 10x if it gets a little bit later over here to 0.86 or something like that, right? And that still is going to be a pretty significant gain. Sometimes these things, whenever it gets really bullish, you can hit even some of these higher levels up here, 1.272, 1.414, and that would be a like a 20 or 30x of the cryptocurrency market cap, which is possible. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's possible because we've been consolidating down here at the lower part of the fib channel for a very, very long time. I argue that all these potential push up is entirely possible, should be ready to do so. So I think this is a little bit of a change of character in terms of what's happening with the cryptocurrency market cap. It's not just with cryptocurrencies. It also has to do with IWM here too. And I can talk about IWM. I want to talk briefly about miners in IWM, and I'm going to end the video here. IWM is trying to break back above the 0.786 log fib here. Once it's able to break above the 0.786, then some pretty bullish things can happen. It already had a V-shaped recovery here. But we have some resistance. We're trying to break through the Ichimoku cloud here on the weekly, not able to. Trying to break through the 0.786 here this week, not able to. It's just been consolidating over here. But guess what? We are having a little bit of an upper Bollinger Band expansion over here. I think we simply just kind of hit the upper Bollinger Band here. We haven't really had the expansion, so we couldn't really go up that much higher, but you're starting to have a little bit of upper Bollinger Band expansion. Even lower Bollinger Band here is a little bit expanding here too. So I think that eventually, given time, it's going to push through this resistance level. It's going to have going up higher. I do think that right now we are at a juncture where IWM potentially starts to shine here. The reason why I say that is if you look at the monthly here, there is a lot of bullish divergence here that's been building for a very long time of this IWM over QQQ chart. IWM over QQQ chart is basically saying that, hey, if this chart does well, then small caps going to do better than large caps. If this chart doesn't do well, then large caps going to do better than small caps, right? You can see how there's a big bullish divergence that's been building here for a while. Even locally, you have a bullish divergence that's being built up here. So we might be experiencing change of direction here relatively soon. A lot of energy has been built up here for about 5 years. From this bullish divergence, I think it's going to end up working up. When's the last time what happens when you have a bearish divergence? Well, you can see how this goes up over here with IWM outperforming QQQ here for years, with RSI going down, mixing the bearish divergence played out, and you have this downtrend here that lasts for about 15 years or so. Right now we have a little bit of reversal here being built up, where the ratio is going down, but RSI is going up. Maybe we have outperformance of small cap. That's going to happen here soon. We will see about that. But with that said, I do think if there is an outperformance of the small caps over here in the foreseeable future over large caps, I do think that some very interesting thing is probably going to end up happening here for the Bitcoin miners here. The Bitcoin miners is probably best illustrated by the WGMI, which is the Valkyrie Bitcoin Miners ETF. And as soon as I play out these two charts over here and line them side by side, you'll see exactly kind of what I'm talking about here. First of all, both of them have gone for a V-shaped recovery in a very, very similar manner. Secondly, if you pull up the Ichimoku cloud on each of these charts over here, you can see they line up extremely beautifully similar, where you are basically trying to break above the Ichimoku cloud but not able to. Had a bullish cross a couple weeks ago of the Tenkan and Kijun, and we're just consolidating over here, waiting for our breakout. If IWM does well, miners are going to do well. If miners are going to do well, that usually means that we're going to have the euphoric phase of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Usually altcoin season also coincides pretty well when miners do pretty well as well. People start to not complain about miners anymore because it's actually been doing extremely well over the last couple months. And right now we're hitting resistance on a bull trend. We will have to closely monitor whether or not IWM wants to break the 0.786 and break the Ichimoku cloud on the weekly. If it does, miners can moon. They can do some really, really sick things. If it doesn't, then we delay that further and miners might end up underperforming here again for a period of time. It all depends on IWM. That is all it depends on. IWM here on the left, miners ETF here on the right. We might be having a little bit of a change of character here because of V-shaped recovery and the fact that we're getting close to a very important fit level for Russell 2000 IWM. Thank you so much for listening to this little bit longer video. I just wanted to share my thoughts. That's all. Take care, guys. Bye.